Shut the fuck up. Fuck that shit. What's going on, everybody? It is a Friday night. I am the Solomonster, and WarGames has been set. Survivor Series is coming up at the end of this month. We already knew that. How are we going to get to WarGames? The WarGames field has now been set. Tonight, we had all the members of the OG Bloodline, Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, and Sami Zayn came to SmackDown tonight. And we're trying to get on the same page. And then at the end of the show, they were promoting a tribal chief acknowledgement ceremony. That's all they told us. Solo Sikoa and his crew were going to come out for a tribal chief acknowledgement ceremony. One segment led into the other segment. There was a show-long storyline involving Roman Reigns refusing to apologize to Jey Uso. The one thing that Sami Zayn wanted out of Roman Reigns, if he was going to get back together with them, get the crew, get the family all back together, you need to apologize to Jey Uso. And he could not bring himself to do it. By the end of the night, they were all standing in the middle of the ring. They were throwing their fingers up in the air. And WarGames is now official for Survivor Series. Now, I thought it was a good angle. I'm going to stand by what I said many, many, many weeks ago when I said that this all felt very rushed. That's because it is. This is something that should have started a little bit earlier, and even now, it's something that they could have dragged out for another couple of weeks, because if you look at the calendar, we still have 3 weeks left to go. 3 more Smackdowns before we even get to Survivor Series. And so there was still time yet, because there's another member of the Bloodline who's been missing for a while now, a certain wise man. And I don't know what they have in store for him. Maybe they have something even bigger planned for Paul Heyman. But there was an easy way to get him involved in this story and have him be the conduit to get everybody back together on the same page. I thought that's where they were leading with what they did in the opening segment. And then by the time the show was over, everybody was together. They skipped over what could have been another week or two of story before we got the teams all on the same page. So they didn't do that. There were some other inconsistencies that I'll point out as far as the Roman Reigns stuff is concerned. But that was the big news coming out of the show tonight. They also had a segment, which I very much enjoyed, involving Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. The two of them were supposed to have a match at Crown Jewel. That match never took place. Instead, Randy Orton came out tonight. He was not happy. He wanted Kevin Owens. One thing led to another. And what ended up happening was that Randy Orton was carried out on a stretcher, even with Cody Rhodes in the back of the ambulance going with him to the hospital. And yes, they called it hospital. How did we get to this point? What happened here? We'll talk about that, but I thought that was one of the best parts of the entire show. It was, if not the best part, one of the best parts of the show. Really, it was that and the Bloodline stuff. So that was a heavy angle that they did. But there was also some news that was broken by Nick Aldis, the general manager of SmackDown, in a pre-tape that they inserted into the show late in the program. We had Nick Aldis talking about the women of SmackDown and how deserving they are and the hard work that they put in. And this was all to build to the announcement of a brand new championship. Now, this is something that we have talked about before on the shows. This is something that has been rumored now for quite some time. There have been women coming out who have worked for WWE, who have done interviews for years, talking about the desire to have a mid-card championship in the women's division. We already have one in NXT. And when they debuted the North American Championship for the women, I made the comment at the time, I said, this is a test. NXT gets it first, but I guarantee you this will come to the main roster, and it won't take that much longer. Now, I don't remember exactly when they introduced the women's North American title. Maybe it was a year ago. My timeline could be off. If it was more, it couldn't have been much longer than that. So I always figured this was where the destination was going to get to. But he came on the air and he announced a Women's United States Championship. Look at the, what an original design. Look at this. Oh my God. I mean, I've never seen anything like this before. I understand their commitment to consistency. I get it. It says they did the same thing with the World Heavyweight title with the men and women on Raw, the WWE Championship with the men and women on SmackDown. I get it. They're all about branding. They're all about consistency. But my God, it would be nice to have an original design every now and then. I guess we got that with the Crown Jewel Championships, which now we're not going to see for another year anyway. They're going to be locked away in a vault. But there it is. That is the Women's United States Championship. It is the U.S. title, but with the word women's on it and on a white strap instead of a black strap. Boring, yes, but this is something that I am on board with. And I'll tell you why. Because again, we've had discussions about this many times in the past. It was not made entirely clear on the show tonight whether or not this championship is SmackDown exclusive. If it were me, I would make it open to women from both brands. And I would let the champion float, which is what they do right now as far as the women's tag team titles, right? We see Bianca and Jade going back and forth between Raw and SmackDown. I would do the same thing, at least initially, with the women's United States Championship. And then if things go well, and as time goes on and they call up more women from NXT, later on, maybe sometime early in 2025, maybe, Q1 at some point between now and WrestleMania, then they can introduce a women's Intercontinental title on Raw. But I just don't see the need to introduce a women's championship on SmackDown, and then this Monday we find out they're doing the same thing with the IC title on Raw, which may well happen. I don't know if they're going to announce a secondary championship on Monday nights as well. If I had to venture a guess, I would say yes, that's where we're headed, because they had Nick Aldis do the announcement. He's the general manager of SmackDown. If this was going to be a joint thing, we would have had an announcement from Nick Aldis and from Adam Pearce. Since there was no Adam Pearce, I'm assuming that we're talking about SmackDown only. If they are going to end up having one championship on each show, though, I do think they would be better off holding off on a second one until at least January. Because we have learned that Raw and SmackDown both are expected to move to 3 hours as of January. Yeah. They're both expected to move to 3 hours as of January. And if that happens, they're going to have no choice. They're going to have to call up more people from NXT, especially for the women, because the depth right now in the women's divisions, really on both shows, but it's more noticeable, I think, on SmackDown. They need more depth. And if there's one thing that NXT has a surplus of right now, it is female talent. So you could easily call up 1, 2, 3 different women, cut them up between shows, and give those divisions a little bit of a boost. When the shows go to 3 hours, assuming that's what happens in January, I just feel like you're not really going to have a choice. But one reason I'm also, okay with them adding another title, it might. And that's the magic word, might being the key word. Help them focus more on story. When it comes to any woman or women who are involved in anything other than a program or a story involving the World Championship. Look at Nia Jax right now. Nia Jax is the WWE Women's Champion. She has been running around with Tiffany Stratton, teasing a Money in the Bank cash-in, right? So Tiffany has been attached to Nia at the hip now for the past few months. Now they've introduced Candice LeRae into things. And then you got Bayley is still kind of, hanging around there, hoping to get another crack at the title, and Naomi. Everything seems to revolve around Nia's championship and the briefcase that Tiffany is carrying. I thought that the little mini feud we had recently between Michin and Chelsea Green, not that it was anything fantastic, but it was kind of refreshing, because how often do they go out of their way to build to any kind of a real mid-card women's program? That thing had the big payoff match with the dumpster match. Whatever you thought of the match, at least they carved a real story around something that did not involve the World Championship. If you are going to introduce these titles, you need to have the creative to back it up. Because in the absence of good creative for something like this, these championships, let's say they have more than one, are going to be meaningless. They're not going to mean a damn thing. So that, honestly, is the most important thing here. You can introduce all the championships in the world, but if you don't have anything compelling and interesting going on around them, they're useless. All that to say, I'm not opposed to them introducing a women's mid-card title, one, and let's see how it goes. And we know they have a lot of women waiting in the pipeline right now to be called up in NXT. So we look at the SmackDown women's roster, and I jotted down the names of all the women that are in the division right now. And we take a look at who they have and who would make sense to be the first U.S. champion on the women's side. Well, we know Nia Jax is already the women's world champion. Okay, so we'll take her out of the equation. You have Tiffany Stratton, but she's running around with the briefcase, and I don't see her pulling an Austin Theory and cashing in on the U.S. title. So she's going to cash in for the world championship, hopefully soon. We'll take her out of the equation. If she didn't have that briefcase, she'd be an ideal candidate for that spot, but I don't think that's going to happen, and I don't think it should happen. You got Bayley. She doesn't need it. You got Naomi. You got Bianca. You got Jade. Bianca and Jade are going to be working their own program probably heading into WrestleMania, so put them on the side. You've got Chelsea Green. You've got Blair Davenport. Whatever happened to Blair Davenport? Is she even still on the roster? We haven't seen her in a few months. You've got Candice LeRae, who I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Candice is still the women's speed champion, so she's already got her title. You've got Piper Niven, and you've got Michin. B-Fab and Elektra Lopez, they have not been used as in-ring talent on the main roster, so they're not going to be wrestling. Well, let's assume they're not going to be wrestling, okay? And I wouldn't have them holding a championship anyway. So take them out of the picture. I look at this list and the three names that I've settled on, who I think would be good candidates for this. Naomi, who seems to always, she's always a bridesmaid, never a bride, right? She's going to get a title match next week, as a matter of fact, against Nia. Do I expect her to win the championship? No, I do not. Although I would welcome a Money in the Bank cash-in. Let's assume she doesn't win. You've got Naomi. You've got Michin. And I think Michin is somebody who should be considered for a spot like that. But then you have Chelsea Green. Now, the only thing I would say negative about it is that Chelsea Green has been treated like a joke in pretty much everything that she does. She's very entertaining. But as somebody to hold a championship that you want to take seriously, that would be the only potential drawback. Even still, I think that Chelsea, first of all, she's super talented, but Chelsea has gotten herself over organically. We've seen it this year. When she's out there, usually the fans react, whether they're booing or they find what she's doing to be entertaining and funny. She's good enough where she has managed to get herself over in that way. She's very entertaining. I would like to see her get that spot. I think that Chelsea getting a proper run as a mid-card champion would actually make a lot of sense. Now, there's one other name I did not mention here. Who is technically part of the SmackDown roster. And that, of course, is Charlotte Flair. You cannot leave Charlotte Flair out of a conversation when it comes to any championship on this show. Charlotte Flair, I'm sure, would love to add the United States Championship to her already very impressive resume. However, if she becomes the U.S. champion, while that would get her away from the world title, because here's the thing, everybody who is, let's say, not a Charlotte Flair fan, I don't want to see her challenging for the championship again. Be careful what you wish for, because when you add more titles, that's more titles for her to go after. The only thing is, she can't pad her resume and get closer to 16 with the U.S. title. So that's probably not going to happen. So if it's me, I think Chelsea Green would be a great candidate for the women's U.S. title. They didn't specify, by the way, exactly what the process is going to be to determine this new champion. All Nick Aldis said is that it will be earned. It will not be handed to anybody. It will not be awarded to somebody. So there's going to be a tournament or a battle royal or something. What that is, though, we don't know. So we'll talk about that and everything else that happened here on this SmackDown show, because this is your Friday Night SmackDown review for November 8th, 2024. I am the Solomonster. We are celebrating 17 years of the sound of all month long, so I thank you for joining me. Like and subscribe. Super chats are going to be open here in just a moment. I will reopen them. By the way, just so you know, I've got a couple of new ones. They are listed in the description down below if you want to check those out. And let's shoot for at least 400 likes for Be the Booker tonight. We have not done Be the Booker all week. So if you want to get one in this week, let's try to shoot for it tonight. I was, real quick here, I was very sad before I went live here to see the news that Tony Todd had passed away. He was the Candyman from the Candyman movies, and I think he was also in the Final Destination movies and Platoon. So he passed away on Wednesday. I guess the news just broke today. 69 years old, no cause of death given, but I was very sad to hear that. I was not really a Candyman guy. I did see the first movie, but I didn't get into the Candyman like I did, Michael and Jason and Ghostface and all these other villains. But he was in a ton of different films, and 69 is not that old. So I was very sorry to hear that. She's a brick. Oh boy. House. She's mighty. She's letting it all hang out. There's one of our new super chats right there. And of course, it had to be David. Breaking it in. David Thiering.
Gunther. Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
David and Fire Panda, thank you very. I gotta be careful here. I can't smile too much. Just so you know, I had surgery yesterday. I had to have some oral surgery. So I have a mouth full of stitches and sutures. So I have to be, I wasn't even sure if I'd be able to do a show. I was actually told not to do any of this. I was told not to stream, don't do a podcast this weekend. I really shouldn't be doing that much talking, or else I might open everything up, but I'm trying to be careful here, so. Fire Panda, thank you. Thank you for the Gunther. And David, thank you for the brand new $23 drop. I appreciate that. By the way, I did notice at the beginning of SmackDown tonight, whoever had that I sang the Solomonster jingle sign, I see you. I don't know what jingle you're referring to. As you could tell there, I do quite a bit of singing here on these shows. Not very well. So I don't know what jingle that song was referring to, but I see you. I see you representing. Oh, by the way, for the people wondering, all three of you, where Giovanni Vinci has been. Where has Giovanni Vinci been? You'll be happy to know that he lost to Apollo Crews in a dark match before SmackDown tonight. Yeah. I think that really says it all. I think that says it all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the kind messages. You don't realize until you're sitting in the chair. I love how you're sitting in the chair and then they come to you. You have a sense of how much this is all going to cost as far as the surgery, which was all out of pocket. There's no insurance for this. And then they come to you like right before they're about to begin. Okay, yeah, this is what it's going to cost. Just sign here. And it's 3 times what they quoted you. Like, I feel like they do that on purpose. Like they get you in the chair and then they sort of sabotage you with it. And it's like, oh, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? Get up and walk out? So yes, your super chats are very appreciated. Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso. They were out to open the show, coming to the ring, and before Roman could speak, he was interrupted by Jey Uso's music, and Jey, yet again, just like a crown jewel, he gets his own separate entrance. And this time, he came not out of the crowd, he came down the aisleway, and he was serious. There was no yeeting, there was no dancing. This was serious Jey Uso. He thinks there's a lot of misunderstanding going on, and he asked Roman to just hear out Sami Zayn. And on cue, we got Sami's music, and down to the ring came Sami Zayn. Sami told Roman that haluva kick that he gave him at Crown Jewel was not done on purpose. But the only reason he showed up there was for Jey. He didn't show up for any other reason. He said it's been a long time since he and Roman have shared a ring together, which, I mean, it's been a week, right? I mean, they were in the ring at Crown Jewel. But he said it's been a while since they've shared a ring together like this. Shut the fuck up. Fuck that tree. Donnie Yasu. Oh man, Finland. Oh, supposed to make me feel better, not worse. Hey, El Masse, thank you for Brie mode. Hey, Finland says he just had a root canal done recently and it cost him $3,000. Shut the fuck up. Fuck that tree. Yeah, I had two of them, actually. I'd never had any in my entire life, and it was, one of them wasn't even bothering me. I had to have it done for a different reason, because they can, like, bleach it internally, and it was a whole, I'm not going to get into it. But anyway, so I had two of them. After my entire life, I had none. I had two of them done within, like, 3 weeks of each other. And honestly, like, the actual procedure wasn't anything terrible. It was more the injections. You know, they got to stick you with that fucking needle like 5 times. But yeah, those add up. Those add up. That sounds about right. Mine was a little less. Mine was a little bit less, but when you have two of them, there was like, I looked at the bill and I was like, oh, okay, I've got to pay for 2 of these now in a month. I go, I better do more streams. I'm going to have to start streaming NXT. I'm going to have to start streaming fucking Main Event. I'm going to have to start streaming Rampage. Well, now we're not going to do that, but yeah, it adds up. Let me tell you. It adds up. So Sami comes out and he says it's been a long time since he and Roman have shared a ring together. And he admitted that being in there with the rest of these guys at Crown Jewel, it was special. It was special. It took him back to a special time in his life. A time with family. And he says there's a part of him that still has a soft spot for that time with all 4 of them in the bloodline. He felt it. Jey felt it. Jimmy felt it. And he knows that Roman did too. He says on some level he knows that Roman wants all of this back. So people think the opposite of love is hate. He says it's not. The opposite of love is indifference. And he doesn't think that Roman is indifferent towards him. He thinks Roman loves him. He says, look, Roman is smirking. He goes, look, he's smirking. He goes, it's still there. He remembers the old days, and it could be like that again. He said if Roman wants him to leave, he just wants him to get out of here, never be a part of the bloodline again, he'll do it. But he doesn't think that's what Roman wants. He thinks Roman wants all of them fighting side by side. And if that's what he wants, he says he'll do it. On one condition. Says he'll do it. All Roman has to do for him is apologize. And Roman, he's making a face like, what did I just say? What did I just hear? So Roman asked him if what he just heard is accurate. And Sami said, no, I don't want you to apologize to me. I want you to apologize to Jey. Because Sami and Jey, they're boys. They're thick as thieves here. One thing that hasn't changed since Jey left the bloodline is that Jey and Sami, they're like this. They're tight. So for all the shit that Roman put Jey Uso through for those 4 years, he wants him to apologize to Jey. Which, by the way, Roman never did. Roman has never apologized for anything. So Roman walks over to Jey Uso and he says, I'm sorry. He says, I'm sorry that I ever let you waste my time with this. He is not in our family. He's not blood. He's not honorary. Quit wasting my time. It's not about him. It's about Solo. And he screamed it. And I'm not going to do it right now because it'll be a fucking bloodbath if I do. But he screamed, Solo. He says, bring your ass out to the ring and let's handle business. And with that, Sami told Jey that he was leaving, and he made it halfway down the aisle before Jacob Fatu appeared on the screen. And so Jacob got some rare promo time here to say something other than just, "I love you," Solo. He said, "There's only one tribal chief and there's everyone else. Solo is the chief. That means Roman is just like everyone else." Fatu said that Solo moves on his own time and he'll come out whenever he damn well pleases. At the end of the day, he said Roman will acknowledge that. So that was the segment there. And unlike Monday here, we had the entire crew. Right on Monday, it was only Sami, Jimmy, and Jey. There was a very important piece of the puzzle missing. We got that piece of the puzzle tonight. So we had all four of them in the ring at the same time. I like how they made you think that Roman was actually going to apologize. Only at the last second, he swerved us. And he did not apologize. There's no reason to think that Roman would apologize here because his character hasn't changed. It's like what I said before. Roman has never apologized for anything since he's come back. All the shit that he put everybody through, Jimmy, Jey, Sami, Kevin Owens. The Bloodline basically tortured people and tormented them for fucking 3.5 years. He's never apologized for any of it, so there was no reason to expect that he would suddenly, have a change of heart. He is still the same character. He's not yet evolved the character. He is still the same pig-headed, arrogant, stubborn son of a bitch that he was when he was the champion for all those years. It's the same Roman Reigns. The character hasn't changed. Sami is willing to put the past behind them, at least for Jey's sake, and Roman is not. So that was the story here in this segment. I mean, look, even in the back after, right? We had a segment after this in the back where Roman and Jimmy are walking and Jey walks up to them. And Roman tried to walk away and Jey grabbed him by the arm and stopped him. And he asked Roman, "Look, I asked you to hear Sami out." And Roman said, he's not anything to us. This guy ain't nothing to us. Why do you care? He goes, "You want to hang out with Sami Zayn? Go after Sami Zayn. Go hang out with Sami Zayn." And Jey said he told Roman that if he talked to him like that, he would be out. And he told Roman, "That's your one free pass." And then he walked off. Jimmy asked Roman, "What are you doing?" And so Roman snapped at him. "So now you're questioning me? Why don't you go hang out with your brother if you want to be hanging out with them?" And Jimmy just kind of shook his head and Jimmy walked off as well. And that left Roman all by himself. And I thought, when all of this was over at the beginning of the show, I thought this is the perfect way to reintroduce Paul Heyman into the story. Roman needs his wise man now. And you bring Paul Heyman back and he takes a wise man, right, to show him the error of his ways and why he needs to put everything, all that history with Sami Zayn and all the ill will and all the feelings he has, to just put that aside and get the band back together in time for WarGames. At least that's what I thought they were going to do. And it took them less than 2 hours to completely fuck up that idea. Again, I don't know what they have planned for Heyman. Hopefully, maybe it's something better, but I kind of feel like they really whizzed on a good idea here. But we were not done yet with the Bloodline. She's a brick house. She's mighty. She's letting it all hang out. Oh, man, what a great singer. I should be on America's Got Talent with that voice. Amazing. Was that Matt? Hey, Matty, thank you, brother. Thank you, sir. I have no idea why
I love you, Solo. You are my tribal chief.
Jeremy, thank you for acknowledging me. The only tribal chief you need to acknowledge, the only Solo is right here. My chat disappeared. Look at Richie Rich over here dropping all this money on me. Hey, I just want you to know, I think you rock. I don't mean The Rock, A-Rock, you rock. And I just wanted you to know that. We just had a $100 bomb from Osakwe.
It's Samoa BRO.
Holy shit, Osakwe, thank you, man. That means a lot. I appreciate that. We're going triple digits here in the super chats. Those are the best ones.
I love you, Solo. You are my tribal chief.
Pisco, thank you. Osukwe with a $100. Wait for it. Wait for it. Bomb. Bombs away. Thank you, my friend. Says there definitely could have been more story to the OG Bloodline reunion. Absolutely. I'm going to get into why that is. And the rest of your super chat as well, because that's only part of the message. But Osukwe, thank you, man. Coming in hot with the $100 bomb. I was saying I have my chat usually embedded in the OBS screen, so I don't have to flip back and forth. And it just went all white. So you chat amongst yourselves now, because I can't see a damn thing. I have no idea why. Literally just, boom, it just went all white. Let's talk about Bayley. Bayley against the newly solo Candice LeRae. She lost her bae, I guess you would say. Indy Hartwell no longer in WWE. If you're living under a rock, or if you are The Rock, who I'm sure is not watching these shows, Indy Hartwell no longer in the company. She's got 90 days, and then she will be a free agent. Her and Baron Corbin and Tegan Nox gone. Candice LeRae now on her own. They went to commercial a minute into this. Candice, though, control throughout picture-in-picture. Late in the match, Bayley climbed up top. Candice rolled out of the ring to avoid an elbow drop. So Bayley chased her around the ring, and Candice, as she got back in the ring, she sold an injury to her ankle. So the referee got between them and put some separation, backed Bayley up. You know, she might be hurt here. So he gets between them. Candice, as soon as Bayley turns her back, Candice attempts to steal a win, tries to roll up Bayley. It was all a ruse, but Bayley avoided it and pulled Candice into a pin and got the win. So she knew her well enough to know what was coming here. And Bayley gets the W. Look, the match was fine. The match itself was fine. Went about 7 or 8 minutes. I wasn't sure, though, watching what they did here, if they were planning on doing more with Candice, if this was almost like a spark for something with Candice and this was going to go somewhere, or if it was more just a case of, hey, we don't really have anything for Bayley right now, so let's just get her on the show and we'll get her a win. Based on what we saw later in the show, it became clear that there is something going on with Candice, which I'm happy about, because, again, I think the Candice and the Nia thing is something that they could definitely do more with. But it pretty much answered my question. Candice got more face time on the rest of this show than Bayley did. So I think that says it all right there. Backstage, Johnny Gargano welcomed the Motor City Machine Guns to WWE. They were in the back. They were stretching and pumping up and getting ready for their match later in the show. And he wished them luck against Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Now, I could have sworn, coming into this show, that they promoted a Grayson Waller Effect talk show segment with the Motor City Machine Guns. And I knew I wasn't crazy, because later on, Corey Graves explained that they were supposed to be. But then Nick Aldis said, well, you know, these segments always turn into a match anyway. So he just decided to turn it into a match. It's like, okay. All right, you get no argument out of me there, but I just thought I thought I was going crazy there for a second. So anyway, as the Guns walked off, they appreciated the kind words. They walk off. In walks Tommaso Ciampa, and he is not happy. He can't believe what he just heard. Putting these guys over. And Gargano tells him, look, I've known these guys since I was 19 years old. Alex Shelley is like a big brother to me. You know this. And Ciampa says to him, yeah, but, you know, we also got screwed out of the tag team titles by the Bloodline. These guys now are coming in. They're taking our spot. He's not happy about this. Not happy at all. He said tonight they're going to make examples out of Pretty Deadly. As Ciampa walked off, Randy Orton suddenly walked in. And he walked right past Gargano, and the camera stayed on him and followed him. He was walking with purpose, is what he was walking with. And he made his way out to the ring. And he did not seem happy after what Kevin Owens did to him at Crown Jewel. First, though, a commercial break. So then when they came back, Orton, who sounded like he had bronchitis, he's on the mic and he said that He's going to end this shit right now. Of course, they bleeped out shit because, of course, they do. But he was in no mood. He said he's going to end this shit right now. He demanded Kevin Owens come out so he can whoop his ass. He's going to whoop that trick. Owens appeared on stage. He was surrounded by officials. Nick Aldis, I think, was out there too. But he got past them all. He hit the ring, and he and Orton start slugging it out. The referees get in there. They separate the two of them. Owens comes over. He kicks him in the groin, and then he sets up Randy Orton for something that we have not seen on WWE television in a very long time. He sets up Randy Orton and delivers a pile driver. He gave this man a pile driver. Not a very good one, but he gave him a pile driver. The first, and I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but the first non-tombstone pile driver, traditional pile driver on WWE television since the famous pile driver episode of Raw with John Cena and CM Punk. And that was before WrestleMania 29. That was in 2013. That's how long it's been. That move has been banned, officially or unofficially banned, I want to say since 2002, 2003. And periodically, I mean, I'm not saying that in the last 21 years it hasn't happened but one time. I'm sure in the early 2000s it happened a few times. But I'm pretty sure this whole pile driver ban goes back to when, it might even be earlier than that. I want to say China was still in the company. That's how long pile drivers have technically been banned here. It was a Vince McMahon thing. It was a safety thing. So now we have Randy Orton being dumped on his head, or at least that was the idea here. As pile drivers go, again, this one did not look very good. Orton's head, look, Kevin Owens protected him as much as he possibly could protect him on this pile driver. But as far as the visual goes, Orton's head was like a foot off the mat. And he basically cushioned his head with his thighs as he fell to the mat. But it's not so much even about what the spot looked like, because they were able to make it work. And the reason they were able to make it work, even though it didn't look great, was because they sold it like death. And in a situation like this, if everybody's playing their part and you can sell this thing like fucking murder, you can get this over. And this worked. This was a very effective angle because everybody played their part. Everybody reacted well to it. Everybody, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, Michael Cole, and Corey Graves on commentary. Everybody. This was great. This was a heavy injury angle here, and all they used was a pile driver. There was no big dive from the Titantron. There was no sledgehammer involved. There was no crowbar involved. There was no chair wrapped around the leg or chair wrapped around the head. Or I mean, we've seen countless injury angles over the years. It was a simple pile driver. Orton is laying on the mat, and Michael Cole freaked out like this was the worst thing he's ever seen in his life. He screamed, "There's a reason that move is banned. There's a reason that damn move is banned." And he talked about Orton's career nearly ending due to a back injury. Corey Graves also, I thought, did a good job with it. Kevin Owens had a look on his face as he was being backed away. Owens had a look on his face like he had just snapped out of a trance. Like he blacked out and now was finally realizing, oh shit, what have I done? Like he looked spooked. He looked shook. So then he leaves the ring. They bring a stretcher out. Cody Rhodes is in the ring there. He's now out there to check on Randy Orton. They load Orton on the gurney. They wheel him to the back. They load him into the back of the ambulance. All while he's moaning. He's making these weird noises, but it's kind of disturbing. And he's moaning in agony. Cody says, I'm going with him. He's getting into the back of the ambulance. He's going to go to the hospital with Randy. Later in the show, Michael Cole said that it was he was diagnosed with undisclosed cervical injuries. So that is the injury update on Randy Orton. Undisclosed cervical injuries is what he said about it. You will not find a safer pile driver in the world. And anybody who is holding out hope that he might use the package pile driver, you take a look at the pile driver he gave him here. That ain't going to happen. That was not happening. We got the pile driver that we got tonight. But again, I thought it was a great angle. When you see, here's the thing about it. I said this on Twitter. When you don't do pile drivers on a regular basis, and in this case, they just don't do them at all. And I'm not really in favor of just outright banning the pile driver. I think in certain situations, just like blood, like what we saw with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre at Hell in a Cell. Occasionally, from time to time, when the situation or the angle warrants it, I think it's perfectly fine to do. You're dealing with professionals here. Every move they do is dangerous. A body slam is dangerous. We've seen people have their necks broken on moves that didn't look devastating at all. These people are pros. I think you can trust them to do a pile driver every now and then. So I'm not in favor of just outright banning the move, but because they've done that, and because it's something that we just never get to see on their show, when it finally happens, it's like, whoa. It's kind of jarring because you're not expecting it. And it means more because we never get to see it. So this angle here would be completely fucking ridiculous on Dynamite, for example, because there is no pile driver ban on Dynamite. We see pile drivers every single week. So if they tried this angle on Dynamite, you would laugh at it. It would get roasted. We've seen Orange Cassidy get pile driven on top of the steps and come right back, right? So that it doesn't mean anything. In WWE, because we never get to see it, they can get away with doing an angle like this. And if you play it just right, it can work. And I thought it was very effective here, and it worked. It's all in how you sell it. That really is what it comes down to. It's all in how you sell it. Because this isn't the days of Jerry Lawler and Paul Orndorff. Orndorff had a great pile driver. Maybe the best, honestly. But those days are over. Those days are in the past. But it's nice to see them bust it out, at least for a big angle like that. Hopefully they'll be more open to it in the future. And now, if Cody Rhodes didn't already have reason enough to want to get a rematch with Kevin Owens, now he's got all the reason in the world, and there's your championship match for Survivor Series. We had DIY against Pretty Deadly. This did not last very long. Ciampa was a man possessed, never even tagged Gargano into the match. They were out there for... The match itself was maybe 90 seconds. It was all Tommaso Ciampa. He killed these guys, destroyed them on his own. He pinned Elton Prince after a fairy tale ending. Even Gargano was like, dude, what the fuck?
Say his name and he appears.
Dude, what the fuck?
In the monster.
I could say the same thing.
I believe in the monster.
Believe in the
They
monster.
love him in London, in Paris, in Tokyo, America, Scotland, and Canada, and Mexico. They say, I believe in the monster. I believe in the monster.
Oh boy, David Thiering with the $150 super chat. Say his name and he appears. I've never looked so cool as I did in that super chat. I could work the rest of my life to look as cool as I do in that super chat, and I would fail. So from our boy Osakwe, we go to David with a 150. David, thank you. David is on fire tonight, breaking in the new one, busting out the old one. And you guys are killing it. Thank you. You're putting as much of a smile on my face as I can physically muster right now. Still a little bit swollen on this side. But I was saying, even Gargano, after what Ciampa did here,
With a tear in my eye.
Gargano was like, dude, calm down. And Ciampa was motioning down at Elton Prince, kind of pointing out to Gargano, like, that's how you do it. And then he left the ring. Now, I'm not saying they're going to split up DIY. You would watch this segment and think that, wait, are they thinking about splitting up DIY? Maybe they are. I hope not. I really don't see how you can even think about doing that right now. Just because of the state of the tag team division, this would be a terrible time to even consider doing such a thing. However, what I am all in favor of is getting some of that kind of the old school Blackheart Tommaso Ciampa back. The Tommaso Ciampa who used to be very fond of Goldie when he was in NXT. getting some of that Tommaso Ciampa back is fine with me. And even if you don't turn these two heel, I guess you could. I mean, Gargano's a great babyface, but you could turn DIY heel if you wanted to. I don't think you necessarily have to. But even just like a little attitude adjustment, I think would be a welcome change. But the tag team division right now is just not strong enough. And the last thing they need to be doing is subtracting teams. Now, you have a team in Austin Theory and Grayson Waller who they've been teasing a split all year long, off and on. I don't know when it's going to fucking happen, but it's going to happen at some point, you would think. So I don't even see them having a long-term future. They're already halfway broken up. Right? So you got them. You've got the Bloodline, who's off doing their own. When I say Bloodline, I mean the Tongans. They're off doing their thing. The Machine Guns right now, they're brand new. They have the titles. You've got the Street Profits, who are getting a title match next week. We'll talk about that. You've got Pretty Deadly. An appropriate word because they're fucking dead. Who else is there? Like, what other legitimate, credible tag team do they have right now? Who am I missing? Right? That's pretty much it. You're going to take them away? You're going to subtract a team from what they have here on SmackDown? I think that would be a terrible idea. But an attitude adjustment, maybe going a little more heelish, I'm okay with that. Candice LeRae was shown walking in the back when Tiffany Stratton walked up to her and mocked her for losing her match against Bayley. Nia Jax showed up and was annoyed with Stratton for making a tag team match. Like, you went to Nick Aldis and made a match for tonight with you and me against Jade and Bianca? And Tiffany pleaded her case, and she explained why she thought that was a good idea. We could be the tag team champions or get a shot at the titles if we beat them because it wasn't a title match. But we can get a shot at the titles, and then we would dominate the women's division on SmackDown. And Nia said, I already dominate the women's division. I'm the fucking women's champion. So she wasn't very happy. Candice is still standing there. She brings up, if I were there for you at Crown Jewel, you would have been the Crown Jewel champion. You would have beaten Liv Morgan. So Nia tells Tiffany this plan better work. And they head out. And that led to Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, the women's tag team champions, against Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. This was a non-title match. Believe it or not, they broke with tradition here in this match. Every single one of these women's tag team title matches that we see, it's Bianca and Jade, and it's Jade on the apron. She's waiting for the hot tag. They get heat on Bianca, and then finally she dives in comes Jade, and she just throws people around, right? And typically, it's a formula that works. It was nice that they broke from the formula here, because here in this match, it was a little bit different. She was being beaten down. They were getting the heat on her, and she was the one who tagged out to Bianca. So that was a little bit different than what we usually see. So Bianca and Tiffany went at it before Bianca went for a moonsault. Tiffany got her knees up. Nia was working over Jade after a commercial. But we had Bianca working out of a situation, we'll say. Tiffany was tugging on her braid. This is a little bit later on. So she works out of that situation, hits a spine buster. I mentioned she went for a moonsault and then Nia tagged in. I already mentioned that. Nia lifted up Bianca and then tagged Tiffany. And this was actually kind of a cool spot. So she lifts her up. Tiffany's a legal woman now. She climbs up to the top rope. And they did a double team. It was basically a blockbuster at the same time that Nia fell backwards for a Samoan drop. So I haven't seen them do that before. I'm a sucker for tandem offense. I like it when teams come up with double team moves. That's what I grew up on. I grew up on tandem offense. I didn't grow up on makeshift tag teams that kind of do their own thing. Everybody had their own set of moves that they did. Whether it was the Horsemen, the Brain Busters, call them whatever you want to, Bulldogs, the Hearts, Demolition, like that's tag team wrestling. So I thought that was a cool spot. Stratton went for the pin. Jade broke it up. We got a stare down between Nia Jax and Jade Cargill before they traded blows. Nia took Jade down and then rolled out to the floor. Tiffany went for a Meteora, but Bianca countered and eventually hit a spear. Bianca went to the top. Nia distracts the referee. And out comes Candice LeRae. Candice comes in. She shoves Bianca off the top rope. Stratton then kicks Bianca and yells at Candice to get out of here. Naomi shows up. She goes after Candice on the outside. Nia plowed through Naomi. The two of them, as I mentioned before, they have a title match on SmackDown next week. Inside the ring, Bianca lifted Tiffany and hit the KOD for the win. So the Money in the Bank curse continues for Tiffany Stratton. I think, if I'm Triple H, what I'm doing is, first of all, I'm not waiting that much longer to do this cash-in because, at this point, it's just ridiculous. Because clearly, there's only so much left for them to do. Already I think a lot of people are bored, frankly, by this and the constant losing. I know Tiffany eventually will cash in. She'll probably win and she'll be the champion, right? So all will be well. This is why they do it. They figure, well, we can beat you. If you're going to end up winning in the end, we can beat you, right? And people will forget about all this. But in the meantime, she just loses and loses and loses. And even just the whole tease of a cash-in, you can only do that so many times. So it's already getting very old. But would have her cash in and go babyface. The fans already like Tiffany. They already cheer for her. She's going to be a natural babyface anyway. So when she cashes in, it may work out that way where she ends up going babyface. And if that happens, then my guess is that when Charlotte Flair makes her triumphant return, if she doesn't come back as a heel, she will come back and quickly become a heel. Because I think Charlotte and Tiffany is the WrestleMania match. I think that's going to be your SmackDown Women's Championship match in Las Vegas. But something people may not have been thinking about, what if Tiffany is the babyface and Charlotte is the heel? I'm not saying it will be that way, but just something to consider. I'm also glad that they're keeping Candice with the Nia stuff. Once Tiffany cashes in and she's no longer tied to Nia like an anchor, I think it's a great spot, for Candice to slide into. She doesn't have Indy with her anymore. I know she might be doing the speed stuff, but who gives a shit? You want to get television time, this is one way to get her visibility on TV, is being attached to Nia, whether Nia is champion or not, almost like her sidekick. I think it's a good spot for her to be in. So I wasn't sure if they were basically doing away with it, but it's pretty clear they're still focusing on that, which is good. And again, as far as Bianca and Jade, it seems like Liv and Raquel are being lined up to challenge them next for the women's tag team titles. I would change the titles. I would put the belts on Liv and Raquel. I don't really see any reason to prolong this women's title run. I don't know when the match is going to happen. But if I had to guess, what do I think the outcome would be? I think they do a title change in that match. We had the Motor City Machine Guns against Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Corey Graves pointed out, as I said before, Nick Aldis just made the match since he figured the talk show segment usually leads to a match anyway. So he just decided to go ahead and make the match official.
Everyone, it's Samoa BRO.
Hey, Samoa BRO. Meal Slayer, thank you for the $20 super chat. I thought that said Meat Slayer, but
I
no,
love you, Solo.
it says meal.
You are my tribal chief.
Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy's very fond of that super chat. So am I. So anyway, we had a match. Look, I would much rather have a match too than have the Motor City Machine Guns out there talking. No offense to Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, but they're not known for their wonderful verbal skills. They're known for having kick-ass matches. So no objection to doing a match instead of a talk show segment. However, the crowd did not get the memo. Apparently the crowd did not feel the same way because, my goodness, when I tell you that this crowd did not give a living shit about this match, you could hear a bird break wind in the upper deck. That's how quiet it was for this match. Nobody cared. And honestly, look, it's not hard to see why. And I don't put this all on the Machine Guns, although there's an issue there as well. But Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, they have no credibility. People, when they see them, they know that they're out there to lose. That's it. Another reason why they should be split, because at this point, what are they really even achieving? So nobody cares. Nobody sees, any credibility in anything that they do. And then on the flip side, you look at the machine guns. Now, I'm very happy that the machine guns are on SmackDown. And they shot them to the main roster because they could use the tag teams. And when they won the championships a few weeks ago, I was very happy for them. It was a great moment. And the crowd also felt like it was a cool moment. What I expected and what I was surprised by is that the very next week, or even this week, we didn't get some kind of vignette or even a series of vignettes that lets the WWE audience into what makes the Motor City Machine Guns so special. The only vignettes they got were before they even debuted, and they couldn't focus on them because it was a surprise, right? Until the day of, and then they just let everybody know on social media, hey, the Machine Guns have signed. But they haven't had any proper introductory vignettes on television to let the audience, their audience, who might not know who they are, they keep hearing Corey Graves on commentary, it's your favorite tag team's favorite tag team, and they talk about all the years, 18 years together, TNA. That's great, but you need to have these character building segments. They haven't done any of that. I'm surprised. And I think that's part of what you saw here. When you don't do that, you end up with a stagnant fucking crowd like you had here in this match. You've got to tell the crowd, why are the Motor City Machine Guns so special? Why is Corey Graves raving about them on commentary every week? They have a working relationship, this company, with TNA. You mean to tell me you can't go to TNA and grab all that Motor City Machine Guns footage and splice it into a video package, interviewing these two guys and having them talk about their careers and their journey to WWE and how long it took them and the injuries and the trials and the tribulations? Why am I sitting here? I'm cutting a promo for them myself right now. Why am I doing it and they're not? That's part of the problem. Yeah, they're the tag team champions. That's great, and I don't have an issue with that. But you've got to flesh things out a little bit more. They've done a very poor job of doing that. All it's been since they won the titles are them in the back. Like we saw tonight, they're stretching. They're getting ready for their match. Gee golly, it's great to be here. Okay, all right, so what? Tell me more about them. Tell me more about Alex Shelley. Tell me more about Chris Sabin. There's still time to do that. Based on this reaction or lack thereof tonight, it's something they need to do. Closest thing they've done, they put a video up on their YouTube channel showing them arriving at WWE headquarters in Connecticut for the first time. So it shows them walking into the building and it's like, wow, look how big this is, right? We're not used to this. And they bumped into Randy Orton. They bumped into Sheamus, right? It was a nice little 5-minute video. It was like a vlog. All right, well, why can't you do something like that on television? They need to get on that. And that's not the only issue. Beyond the vignettes, they have a real issue as far as the division is concerned, because they need 1 or 2 really solid heel teams to be their foil. And maybe they're taking steps towards that based on the next segment. I hope they are, because backstage, the Machine Guns, after the match, they ran into Ciampa and Gargano. Street Profits showed up. B-Fab was with them. And the Street Profits told them that next week they're going to be challenging the Machine Guns for the WWE Tag Team titles. This was after the match, by the way. I should mention the match was so insignificant, I kind of glossed over the fact that the Machine Guns won with their Skull and Bones move. Of course they won. Did you need me to tell you that they fucking beat Austin Theory and Grayson Waller? Did you think it would go any other way? No, you didn't. Don't fucking lie to me. You knew exactly what the result was the minute I told you that these two teams were wrestling on this show. So now we go to the back. The Street Profits say we're getting a title shot. Tommaso Ciampa blows a gasket. He cannot believe that the Profits have jumped in front of them in the line and they are getting a title shot next week and DIY is not. And so he walked off. And Shelley and Sabin, again, bread and butter. Like, oh yeah, we're looking forward to the Street Profits next week. You know, you guys are one of the best tag teams in the world. And again, like very, I don't know, very Milky White here. Like, yeah, you know, like, all right, the Street Profits weren't buying it though. They didn't have smiles on their faces. And Angelo Dawkins got real grim and said, let's see how you handle real pressure. Now, I mentioned the interview with the Daily Mail last week that Montez Ford did. And you can never be too sure about how much of it is a work, how much of it isn't. I'm sure there's very real frustration on his part with how things have gone for him and the Street Profits the last couple of years. They haven't held tag team gold in about 4 years, which is ridiculous to think about. It's not like they've had that many tag teams. And yet they're still over. People still like them. But there has to be a change. I would like to see Montez Ford get a singles push. I'm sure at some point he's got to. At some point it has to happen. It might not be happening right now. The Street Profits need something to change. They tried. It looked like they were going heel with them and Bobby Lashley. And I think more so for Lashley. The fans just didn't want to boo him. So it didn't work out. Whether it's a heel turn or again, like with DIY, just an attitude adjustment where they show that kind of darker, harder edge to them. They need a change. They need something different. Something has to change. You watch this segment here and it makes you think like, okay, maybe there is something going on next week. I don't know that they're going to win the titles, but they really can't afford to go in there and not. How many opportunities have the Street Profits had to become tag team champions and they have fallen on their fucking face time after time after time? At what point does something change? They can't just go in there next week and lose again. They may well win the tag team titles. And I'd be okay with that too, just like I was okay with the Guns winning them. Because maybe the story is these guys come in and they piss off all the other tag teams in the division because they jumped the line. And they won the title. So now it's pissing off DIY. It's pissing off the Street Profits. Good. It should light a fire under every single one of these teams that these guys weren't even in the company and now they're the tag team champions and they're not. So if that's where this is leading to, I can get behind that. If the entire reason for the title change, other than to get the belts off the Bloodline, was to light a fire under these other teams and get them to show a side of them that we're not used to seeing, now that can make things more interesting. So if the Street Profits don't get the job done next week, we know DIY wants next. Maybe DIY gets involved. Maybe Ciampa just goes mad and interferes in the match and we don't even get a real finish. But I just don't see how the Street Profits can go in there and just fucking lose again clean next week. You can't do that. Unless you're splitting them up, you can't do that. If you're going to split them up and have Montez turn on Angelo Dawkins, that's one thing. But, I mean, that kind of goes to what I was saying before about, do you really want to be breaking up tag teams instead of adding new ones? You know, I don't know about that. Then we had the video package that I mentioned earlier, where Nick Aldis introduced a brand new Women's United States Championship and mentioned that it will be earned. It will not be handed out. It will not be awarded to anybody. And like I said before, I'm okay with the idea of introducing one for now. I would prefer that you are able to float between brands, but that's not the impression I got. They still have to give some clarity on that. That's just not the impression I got from Nick Aldis being the one to make the announcement here. And I think Chelsea Green, Meech, and Naomi, I think those would be three fine choices in that it would really help elevate them, provided that there is good creative to go with it. Because, you know, you're introducing this new championship. You want that title to benefit other people, to help elevate them. And then maybe one day they'll be able to compete for the world championship and it'll help, you know, give them more credibility. All right. Then you can make a real effective use of this new title. But if they don't have a plan for it, then I don't know why they're bothering with this. So I certainly hope Triple H has something in mind. The show closed with the Bloodline acknowledgement ceremony. Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa coming down to the ring. Solo wanted Buffalo to acknowledge him, but he was interrupted by Roman Reigns, who came to the ring by himself. Solo was happy to see him, but first he said he needed Roman to acknowledge him as his tribal chief. Roman asked Buffalo if they acknowledge him, being Solo, and they booed. Roman said, "Neither do I." He said he won't ever acknowledge him. He's here to challenge him, one-on-one. Winner is the only tribal chief. So Solo laughed him off. I would, again, replicate the laugh, but I can't laugh right now. But I've not heard Solo Sikoa laugh like this before. He said he doesn't need to fight him. He's already the undisputed tribal chief, baby. Called him baby. Instead, he turned it around on Roman and challenged Roman to find 4 people in the locker room that would team up with him and they can go to war. Here we go. This is what we've been waiting for. Roman said, "Wait, are you talking about WarGames?" And he said, "I only see 4 of you." So then Solo went and he counted each one of them out. He goes, "He's 1. Said Jacob is 2. Tama is 3. Tongaloa is 4. And the 5th is his boy, Sami Zayn." Sami slowly walks out on stage and stops there. And then Jimmy and Jey, they come out. They blow right past Sami as they run down to the ring to help Roman, who, is in the ring all by himself and being attacked by the Bloodline. So a big brawl breaks out. The Tongans took care of the Usos. Solo was about to spike Roman, but he looks over at Sami Zayn on stage and he motions. He goes, "Get in here." He wants Sami to get in the ring. So Sami does. And he orders Sami to kick Roman in the face. Remember what he did to you. Kick him in the face. And Sami did kick him in the face. But it was Solo that he kicked in the face, not Roman Reigns, and the crowd popped. Superman punch to Jacob Fatu, followed by a haluva kick by Sami. That takes Fatu out of the ring. Solo gets back up. Roman delivers a spear and takes him down. And now we got all 4 members of the OG Bloodline in the ring. We have Roman Reigns, we have Jimmy Uso, we have Jey Uso, and we have Sami Zayn. Jey throws up the 1s. Jimmy follows and he throws up the 1s. Now Sami and Roman, they come face to face. And they really milked this for a while. And then finally, Sami throws up the 1s. So it's all on Roman. What's Roman going to do? And finally, he throws it up too. And everybody cheers. And we have the parting shot of all 4 of the original Bloodline members. Again, minus Solo Sikoa, obviously. And the wise man is not back yet. But you got Roman, you got the Usos, and you got Sami Zayn. The band is back together. The field for WarGames is now set. I guess Sami really didn't care all that much after all about that apology. I thought that he wanted an apology before he would agree to be a part of this. Isn't that what he told us at the beginning of the show? He said, "You need to apologize to Jey." And then Roman went over to Jey and he did not apologize to Jey. In fact, he yelled at Jey. But evidently Sami had a change of heart. It's weird that Roman still hasn't taken responsibility for his actions. He is incapable of incapable of apologizing, incapable of admitting that he was wrong for any reason at all. But yet everybody is okay with it. That's the weird thing about it. It can't be ignored. You can point out that you enjoyed the segment and you like the angle and WarGames, I'm sure, is going to be very entertaining. But you could also acknowledge that there are some inconsistencies here in this story, and that is one of them. And I stand by what I said weeks ago, and I said this all felt very rushed. And it does. And even tonight, when we saw what we saw in the opening segment, you would think, okay, this might just be the way for them to reintroduce Paul Heyman into the story. I'm not upset they didn't go with my idea. I'm more disappointed that they didn't go with that scenario, because I think it would have dragged things out for a couple more weeks, but it would have done so, I think, in a smart way, where you have Paul Heyman come back and he has to go maybe member by member, but really it's Roman that he has to convince. And Heyman, look, Heyman, we know Heyman can deliver a fucking promo when he wants to. And I think it would have made for great television where Roman is sort of an island all unto himself. Again, he just has been incapable of changing his personality at all. Would it not make sense for Heyman to be the one to kind of talk some sense into him and make him wake up and realize that he's being a selfish bastard? That these people are his family and he can't go to war by himself. You know, Heyman needs to be the wise man. That's why he calls him the wise man. That's why he would always have him around, because he's the smart one. He knew how to manage Roman Reigns. So I think it would have been a smart way, I think, to reintroduce Heyman, but also, you know, you do what you do in the opening segment, and then less than 2 hours later, it's all wrapped up. Why not get another week or two out of it? You got 3 weeks to go before WarGames. So that I didn't understand. I was disappointed they didn't take it in that direction. Now, I already see some people wondering, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, what's going on here? WarGames in the past has been 5-on-5. I'm not expecting 5-on-5. Solo mentioned 5. You know, they teased it because they wanted you to think that Sami was going to be on Solo's side. And then the swerve came and we found out that he wasn't. So it's going to be 4-on-4. That's what it should be. I don't see any reason to add anybody else to this match. The Rock is not coming back to be in WarGames, okay? Please. So anybody else that you would add to this is just going to feel completely and unnecessarily tacked on. What are you going to do? You're going to put Kevin Owens is going to put his issues aside with the Bloodline and tag with Solo and then put Cody on the other side. Like, who would you even plug in there that would make sense? Nobody. Nobody else would make sense. So it's going to be 4-on-4. That's the way it should be. Anything else, I think, would be ridiculous and wouldn't make any sense. But we have a lot of questions. You know, does Paul Heyman show up at all before the pay-per-view? He's going to come back. You know, but do we see him at Survivor Series or before Survivor Series? Do they keep Sami and the Bloodline together after WarGames? Or is it strictly just meant to be a short-term thing? I would imagine short-term, because technically Sami is not part of the SmackDown roster. But who knows, right? Maybe they want to keep this going for a little while longer. Do we get the Usos back together on a regular basis? Again, seems unlikely because they're on separate brands. Well, apparently the GMs are okay with allowing them to mix and match right now, so why would they care? But I mean, I don't see the Usos just getting back together and just being the Usos and that's it. Because it would be a step down for Jey. At this point, Jey is a big enough star that it would be a step down for him to just go back to being one of the Usos. Supposedly, he outsold everybody in the company, including Roman Reigns and CM Punk in the month of, I think, October, in merch, which is insane. You see it, you hear it every week when he comes out, the reactions, the entrances through the crowd. I mean, they made this guy into a star. You can't just throw him back into a tag team in a division that's pretty much dead anyway and just have him be the Usos, right? You can do the occasional Usos match, but I think you got to maintain this. You got to maintain this run, this singles run for Jey.
Lawler loves Gunther, the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
All hail the mighty one, says Aaron Ruggiero with the $50 Gunther bomb. Apparently he was in the crowd. Look at this. He was in the crowd in Buffalo tonight. After the dark match, Cody, Sami, and Jey brought a fan fighting cancer into the ring. It was a great moment. The crowd got so loud. No matter what we think of storylines, this type of shit is what matters. That sounds like a very cool moment. You picked a good show to be at. I thought it was a good episode tonight. So, but Aaron, thank you, man. Thank you for the 50. And thank you for the update, the post-show update. Live from the venue in Buffalo. But yeah, you got to keep Jey Uso on his own after all this. He's got to continue on with the singles run. You got to milk this shit until it dies down. And if it never dies down, you should be so lucky. Especially if he's outselling everybody else in merch. You got to ride that wave until you can't ride it no more. It would be crazy otherwise. So yeah, a lot of questions, but we have our WarGames match now. Again, Cody and KO, they are destined for a title match, I think, at Survivor Series. And they have to crown a new Women's United States champion now. How are they going to do it? We'll have to wait and see. Good episode. Even with the inconsistencies in the Bloodline stuff that I pointed out, most of the Bloodline stuff was good. And the Owens-Orton angle I thought was very good. I enjoyed that. What did you think of SmackDown from Buffalo? 90% thumbs up. Less than 10% thumbs down. So I take it you liked it. Is it safe to say? I think it's safe to say you liked the episode. Wow. That says it all. Ah, Tony, look at this. Another lewd sex act here. Can you and Okada take that to the back? Get out of here. Disgusting. Disgusting. Let's take a look at your super chats. We got a whole bunch of them here, including some that came in earlier. Thank you guys. And you guys have been killing it tonight, and we are still 25 likes away from the goal. Disappointing. Got to get that up if we're going to do Be the Booker. All right, let's start with the early ones. Make sure I don't miss anybody here. We'll start with Griga. How about that? I like Griga. What's going on, Griga? Dropping a 5. Says, and there it is. The final blow for Sami to betray Roman at WarGames. Remember what he said? He is not family. He did say that, but they were all united at the end of the show. Yeah, I mean, look, will Sami Zayn turn on the Bloodline at WarGames and go heel? Can't discount that as a possibility. I don't think so, but they could pretty much go either way with it if they wanted to. It did feel it was a little too easy for Sami, after what he said in the opening segment, to just put all that aside and stand there and put his finger up in the air. Maybe Griga's onto something. The Real CS with the $9.99. With NXT beating AEW in the ratings once again, do you see WWE moving NXT back to Wednesdays permanently? I could honestly see it happening within the next couple of years. I would not be surprised. There's no reason for them to do that. It's still competition. I mean, even if they beat them, you're doing well on Tuesday. CW wanted them on a Tuesday. That's why they put them on a Tuesday. If they wanted them on Wednesdays, they would have moved the show to Wednesdays. I don't know what CW typically airs on Wednesdays. I don't really care. But I don't see them moving nights. I don't see Raw moving nights. SmackDown still on Fridays. I think everything is going to stay right where it is. Josh Carlos 98. Cool to see Fatu get some promo shine. I think the wise man returns and brings the OG Bloodline together to sing Kumbaya. Well, obviously, he said this before the end of the show. So much for that idea. He says, also, I have an unpopular opinion that Austin Rock WrestleMania 17 is overrated. That finish was absolutely terrible. It ruined the match. What say you? No, I don't think the match is overrated. I think the finish does take it down a little bit, but I don't think the match itself was overrated. It was a very good match. It ruined it only in that it's a heel turn that never should have happened. And they realized that. They had buyer's remorse after that. And their business never really, I mean, up until recently, I guess, never really fully recovered from that. So it was a bad decision. It was a bad call. To that end, you could say that, it was a bad idea, but I don't think it ruined the match. And Josh says, who would deserve the hypothetical WrestleMania 18 main event if Triple H was not hurt? Austin against Triple H for the world title, or Hogan Rock? If you're anybody else on that roster, you're saying Hogan Rock, because you don't want to go on after those two. But if Triple H was coming back the way he did in early 2002, and if Austin was the champion, like he was still the heel champion, they're going on last. And I do think Austin and Triple H would have fared better than Triple H and Jericho, because Jericho is not the level of star that Austin was. But we still know what the real main event of that show was, right? It's Rock Hogan. But if you had Austin as the champion, it's just hard to say you got to take Austin and Triple H and the history and the story they would have had for the championship and put them anywhere but in the main event spot. I think if anybody could have recovered from sort of the aftershock of the Rock and Hogan match, it probably was those two. Triple H and Jericho, not only in terms of star power, but just in terms of the fucking shitty story they had. Need I remind you of the story heading into the Jericho match at WrestleMania with Lucy the dog being run over by a car? It wasn't even about Jericho and Triple H. The story heading into WrestleMania was about Triple H and Stephanie. And as I recall, when he pedigreed Stephanie during the match, I don't think it got as big of a reaction as you would expect it to.
It's the amazing Gunther.
People didn't care.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Aaron with another $50 drop. Aaron must be in like a really great mood coming out of that show in Buffalo tonight. Thank you, man. I'm going to get to you, Aaron. I'm cycling through these here. I'm going to get to your message in a second. Don't go nowhere. Let's move on here. We got Avwunu. Ogentega. Tiffany looked like an idiot today. Also, I get you are trying to build Ciampa, but you just killed Pretty Deadly. Going to break up DIY and beat a tone... Oh... beat A-Town down. Great tag division challengers for Motor City Machine Guns. Yeah, it's everything I talked about before. We don't know that I don't think they're breaking up DIY, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's exactly what I talked about before. Honey Deep Fried Chicken says, my message to Triple H and WWE. Make more title belts, please. Either create more belts or just let half the roster go. I don't know if they're going to listen to you, but I hope not. We're already getting one new belt. I don't really think we need more. Sidro. What's going on, Sidro? Sidro says a potato chip truck blocking the highway. Expect delays. And if you're ever locked out of your house, talk to your lock calmly because communication is key. You ever suffer secondhand embarrassment from something that somebody has said? Because I'm feeling that right now. Before my friend Frank died, he asked that I store his ashes in his favorite beer mug. His last wish was to be Frankenstein. Yeah, that one was bad. I didn't like that one. And then we have, why aren't lobsters kind? Because they're shellfish. And got thrown out of local park for arranging squirrels by height. They didn't like me. Shut the fuck up. Who saved us here? Eminem. Fuck that tree. Eminem saved us. Eminem, thank you. You interrupted Sidro's punchline here, which got thrown out of local park for arranging squirrels by height. They didn't like me criticizing. Dude, these are awful. These are awful. The locksmith one was pretty good, though. Jerome Eugenio, what are the odds that Charlotte becomes the first ever women's U.S. champion? Let's not even talk about it. Let's not even go there. How about that? Justin G, nice trees tonight. Yeah, we've had ourselves a few learning trees or two tonight. Thank you, Justin, for the 12. David, there he is with the brand new $23 super chat. Let's break in another one. He says, if this is what I am thinking, this should be another banger. As always, thank you, Solo, for keeping things fresh on the channel. Well, you're very welcome. You're very welcome, sir. Fire Panda with the 50. What do you get when you cross Drake Maverick and Ricochet? Drake Mavericochet. Now somebody has to do a Photoshop. Kind of fuse the two of them together. Justin G, rest in peace, Tony Todd. Did not know he was all over Trek. He's been in a lot of things. I mean, over the years. Candyman is probably what I think, I don't want to say most people. A lot of people remember him for Candyman, but again, he was in Platoon, he was in Final Destination, and you'll see his whole filmography. I'm sure it'll be talked about in all the stories. We got Ragnarok. Willow is being beaten down by the metal object because Willow sucks. Can't do it right now. I can't do the OG soundbite now. God, what sound off was that from? I think I marked it down somewhere. Probably episode 300 something. I'm doing 887 this weekend. That's how long it's been. Donnie Yasu, I hear the trees are nice tonight. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Thank you, Donnie. El Masse, congrats to WWE ID prospect, The Rizzler. You're going to give him a contract too? What is he now? 8? 7.5? It is the Rizzler, not the Rinsler. I think I mispronounced it the other day. Jeremy Rose, do you think the Ciampa turn on Johnny will be as good as the NXT version? Also, do you see Street Profits going heel and winning tag belts, or does Montez turn on Dawkins? I don't know what they're going to do. I kind of outlined some of the possibilities before. I don't think DIY is going to be split. I just think it would be dumb. You know, you could do Ciampa and Gargano later. They're better off together right now. NWO Matt with the 23. Brick House. Solo, what are your top 5 tag teams of the modern era and of all time? I don't do top 5s, but I will tell you all time. Heart Foundation, Demolition are on my list. Modern era. FTR, pretty damn good. I know some people have soured on them recently because they haven't really done anything of note lately, but FTR. Love the Lucha Bros. Lucha Bros are a great team. So yeah, those are some of the ones I think that would be at the top of my list. I'm trying to think of all time though. All time beyond Heart Foundation and Demolition. If there's another like old school tag team that I can tack onto the list. Edge and Christian. You know, honestly, of the Edge and Christian, Hardys and Dudley's trio, I was an Edge and Christian guy. DEH Sires kind of wish they included the NXT women, even though they already have one in NXT. Just a way to slowly get them over on the main roster. Well, I mean, they can call them up. I mean, I think they're going to have to. I think they're going to have to call NXT women up anyway when both shows go 3 hours in January. And they have so many women down there, they can spare 2 or 3. It's not going to kill them. They're constantly replenishing down there, and they have plenty of talented women that they could siphon away from NXT. Jeremy says, hopefully when the OG Bloodline breaks up, again, it ends with either Sami or Jey winning the title off of Roman. You're going to put the title back on Roman? Why would you put the title back on Roman? He says, maybe WrestleMania 2026. I'm not even thinking about Roman getting the belt back, honestly. I don't think he needs it. I mean, 2026 is a long ways away. So maybe, but who's to say what's going to be going on as far as the top talent in 2026? Why do you have to go back to the original story? Could be Braun Breaker and Roman. Could be Trick Williams and Roman. Right, you never know. DEH Sires, why not have an NXT woman win the Royal Rumble? You could do that. That would be an interesting way to debut Jordynne Grace. If she signs with WWE and becomes a full-time performer for them, you have her in the Royal Rumble again, but she wins. And then she can choose the champion that she wants to wrestle. You could do Rhea Ripley. If Rhea comes back early enough and gets the belt back from Liv and they don't drag it out until WrestleMania, imagine Rhea Ripley and Jordynne Grace at WrestleMania in Vegas for the championship. That'd be something. Osakwe T. Vasquez with the $100 super chat. There definitely could have been more story to the OG Bloodline reunion. Some emotional beats were skipped over heading into Saudi, and tonight felt rushed. So it'll be interesting to see what WWE has planned for the next few weeks that top SmackDown's closing moments. I couldn't have said it better. Still feels rushed. We got to the same destination either way. People were very happy to see them at the end of the show. It got a good reaction. All of that is true. But you're 100% correct. They rushed through certain things that they could have taken a little more time with. Because again, that's what the shows are about. You know, it's episodic television. It's the week to week. And some of the best SmackDown television of the last 4 years were Bloodline segments with those OG guys. So taking more time to really play things out, I don't think anybody would have complained about that. And I think it would have been beneficial. But ultimately, we get to the same place either way. Justin Hare with the 1999. Hey Solo, I've been a long-time listener for about 10 years since TV Tracks. Question, have you noticed that there has been 10 Andre the Giant Memorial winners and only 3 are still in the company? Do you know who the 3 are? Yes. I know Jey Uso won. So obviously Jey Uso is still there. Let's see here. Corbin won, he's gone. Cesaro won, he's gone. Big Show won, he's gone. I mentioned Jay. Bobby Lashley won, right? He's gone. That's interesting. I thought I knew at least 2 of them. Who am I missing? I don't know all 3. You got me. You actually stumped me. You stumped the Solomonster. Could be a new segment here on the show. I don't know. I know Jey Uso is 1. I don't know who the other 2 are. Oh, Bronson. Okay, yes. Bronson Reed. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Bronson Reed. And who was the other one? There's 3, he said. Bronson and Strowman. Okay, Braun Strowman. Right. Okay. The 2 monsters, right? No surprise there. Bronson Reed, Braun Strowman, and Jey Uso. Pisco95, thank you for the 15. It's been a weird week after Tuesday, but I just want to say thank you for what you do. Your streams help me and many others cheer up. Cheers. Cheers to you as well, Pisco. It was a weird week because NXT being on a Wednesday is very weird. If you missed it, by the way, I reviewed NXT on Wednesday night. So that review, NXT from the ECW Arena, is up right now. And I'll talk about Dynamite on the podcast this weekend. Nick Grosso with the $4.99. With Lance Anoa'i signing with WWE, maybe he goes to the main roster and joins Roman's Bloodline while Hikuleo joins Solo's Bloodline. What are your thoughts? Honestly, like, I just, I'm not a fan of just throwing all the Samoans and Tongans that you can think of into this story. I just think you end up overloading it. It almost turns into the NWO. So I'm not saying they won't do it. I just don't think you need to add everybody into it. If there's a logical spot for someone like Lance Anoa'i, then fine. But let's put Lance here. Let's put Hikuleo here. Like, you know, I'm sure it's going to happen. They could keep the Bloodline stuff going for another couple of years if they wanted to, at least. You're going to have to add new members over time, but pump the brakes. You don't have to add new people all at the same time. Lance Anoa'i, though, I'll tell you something, though. We brought him in to House of Glory earlier this year. And he looked good. I think he was wrestling for our Crown Jewel Championship, the only Crown Jewel title that matters. But I remember thinking at that time, I'm like, okay, this guy may be getting a look soon from WWE. Nick, thank you. Pisco says, was that Randy Orton angle meant to keep him away from TV for a while? If so, do you think it will lead to a rematch between KO and Cody? Will Randy be a heel and turn on Cody when he returns? No, I don't think he'll be a heel. I mean, Cody went with him in the ambulance. I don't know why he would turn on Cody for that. If Randy's going to turn, it's not going to be because of that. Yeah, I think it was. I thought maybe what they did at Crown Jewel possibly was a way to write Randy Orton off TV for a few weeks. And then they did what they did tonight. So yeah, I mean, you can't do an angle like that and just have him back in a week. So I took that as, okay, we're getting Cody and KO at Survivor Series, and that takes care of the question of, well, then if you do that, what do you do with Randy Orton? Well, Randy Orton's hurt. Then I think we get Randy Orton and Kevin Owens at Saturday night's main event. That's what I think. Jeremy says, looks like the wise man needs to return to tell Roman he needs these guys back. Who wants to tell him? Who wants to tell him? Spartan Sprinkles, the shaggy COVID-era Solomonster hair making a comeback. No, this is nothing compared to what it was at like peak COVID. It looked like I had a mop on my head. I couldn't stand it. I was ready to shave my head here on the air. I won't do that, though. David Thiering with the 150. I already gave him a bomb, but my God, I got to give him another one. It's the biggest bomb of the night. David says, you should have never mentioned the surgery, Solo. Now the chat has a mission statement to break you. Congrats on 17 years of the Sound Off. Can't wait to hear what you have planned for 20 years in episode 900. Well, 900 is coming up quicker than that. 900's not that far off, and then before you know it, it's going to be Sound Off 1000. You believe that? You know what happened when Raw hit Raw 1000? It went to 3 hours every week. I've done 3-hour shows, but you don't got to worry about that here. You're not going to have to worry about 3 hours every week. The Juliet, rest in peace, Candyman himself, Tony Todd. Jeremy says, do you think Orton blames Cody for this injury and this fuels the turn on Cody when he returns? Nah, it's not the impression I got from what they did. I still think we end up with Orton and KO at Saturday night's main event. 89 Tech, will we ever get heel Orton and Cody soon? I don't know about soon, but yeah, I think we'll get it. Melik Gaming, do you think the Motor City Machine Gun should have a long tag title reign? Should WWE bring in more tag teams, and if so, who? I don't know. I mean, should they bring in more teams? Yes. When Penta and Phoenix are free and clear of their AEW contracts, you bring in the Lucha Bros. There's one team. I don't know what other teams are available right now that have a name that are highly visible. You have teams on the independent circuit, but whoever they are, yeah, we can definitely use more tag teams. And do I think they should have a long reign? I don't think they need a long reign. I think there's a pretty good chance they're going to lose next week. And you could tell a story with that. You know, too much too soon, and then they have to struggle to get the belts back. I wouldn't have an issue with that. If we have the Street Profits go heel and kill the Machine Guns and they win those belts next week, it's exactly what the Street Profits need. I'd be okay with that. Dev to Dust, Carlito's Way is better than Scarface. I haven't seen Carlito's Way in so long. Scarface I've seen a bunch of times, so I disagree. But I say that as somebody who saw Carlito's Way like 25 years ago and has not seen it since, so I have to rewatch it. But I love Scarface. Scarface is a great movie. Chris Miner, OG Bloodline is back. Can you feel the mana? I feel it. I feel the mana. The Meal Slayer with the 1999. What I wouldn't give for a full meal right now. No solid food or anything hard or chewy for me for the next 2 weeks. So I'm living on yogurt. There's like a dairy-free yogurt that I found that's really good, like a strawberry yogurt. Yogurt, applesauce, and soup. That's it. That's pretty much all I can eat for the next 2 weeks. I'm not getting these sutures out for 2 fucking weeks. Do you believe this shit? Do you think Kevin Owens would benefit more from going back to Raw after WrestleMania? After Randy and Cody, there aren't very many interesting feuds. Roman and LA Knight. Meanwhile, Raw has Punk, Seth, Sami, Jey, even Howdy. What do you think? I think SmackDown needs guys, and you don't just move him over when Raw, as you said, has all of these other names. You can't just dump everybody on Raw. Now look, Raw is going to be a big priority come January when they go to Netflix. So what I think we'll see some crossover. You're going to have SmackDown guys showing up on Raw, at least for that first show. But no, I mean, you can't just dump everybody on Raw. You just got to do a better job of building up SmackDown. Drew McIntyre. I still stand by what I said. Drew McIntyre should go to SmackDown. And frankly, I think Chad Gable and American Made are going to end up there too, because they're just dying a death on Raw. But like, Drew McIntyre should go to SmackDown. And I don't know when AJ Styles is expecting to be back or how serious the injury is, but I would move him over to Raw. Jeremy says, do you think WarGames is 5-on-5 or just an angle Solo was using for tonight? If so, who is the fifth man for each team? Hikuleo and Zilla Fatu. Zilla Fatu is not... I know people love to mention Zilla. And Zilla is good. He's getting better with each match that I see him in. Again, we got him in House of Glory. He's our Crown Jewel champion. I think he may have just won another title in another promotion. Zilla is on his way. I could see Zilla being one of those WWE ID prospects. Zilla is not popping up at Survivor Series. Zilla is still very young. He's carving his own path. I think his path will lead there. But you gotta get that out of your head. He's not going to be at Survivor Series. He's not, like, that's too soon. That's way too soon. And no, I don't think it's going to be 5-on-5, 4-on-4. Adding anybody else, adding Zilla or Hikuleo or Lance Anoa'i or Solomonster or Rene Dupree or, the corpse of Roddy Piper or anybody, adding anybody doesn't make any sense. It would be tacked on. You have your 4 on one side, you have your 4 on the other side, that's it. You don't need to muddy this up with anybody else. Just to make it 5-on-5. 4-on-4 is perfectly fine. Retro KOH, celebrating 20 months of membership on the 9th. Just realized I'll hit 2 years on my daughter's first birthday. Happy 17 years, Solo. Happy to have been around for 14 of them. Well, wish your daughter a happy early birthday. It is technically the 9th now, so I guess today is her birthday. Happy birthday to Little Retro. We'll call her Little Retro. And thank you for the love, brother. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Retro also says, I don't know why some people think it can only be 5-on-5. We've had 4-on-4 and even 3-on-3-on-3 in NXT once. 4-on-4 is fine. 4-on-4 is perfectly fine. And if they have a women's war games, maybe that's 5-on-5. Aaron with his first of two $50 bombs. I was in the crowd tonight in Buffalo. And this is, I read this already, but he mentioned the very nice thing that Cody and Sami and Jay did after the show. Brought a fan into the ring who had cancer. Cody in particular. Cody he really is like what John Cena was for them before. When he talks on TV about trying to fill that role and work that schedule and be that guy, he does. Like, he lives that. He is what John Cena used to be to them, is what Cody Rhodes is right now. Anis, Triple H booking is getting so lazy, it's crashing on my couch. Well, you didn't specify which angle or which segment is the laziest. Unless you just think the whole product is lazy. Sidro. Heard Punk and Drew back on Monday. Where do they go? Oh, this Monday coming up? I don't know. I don't know how you can have them both on the same show and not have them want to kill each other. Or have Drew want to kill Punk. It's one of the reasons I said, have him ship him off to SmackDown. Do a trade between the GMs. And then AJ got hurt. Maybe they were going to do that. Maybe they were going to do a 1-for-1 trade. Drew and Styles, and then his injury fucked everything up. I don't know. Red Emissary of Darkness. I have a Polish roadie friend, and I have a Czech one too. Son of a bitch. That was good. That was a good one. It took me a second because I thought for just a brief second, I thought that you were legitimately telling I thought you were legitimately telling me about your Polish roadie friend. I have a Polish roadie friend and I have a Czech one too. That's very clever. Oh, man. Melik Gaming. Heyman should return and remind Roman Reigns who he is. Would it be too much that during the promo, Heyman slaps Roman to awaken or fire him up? Well, they don't have to do that now. That would have been cool. That's something I would have done. Now there's no need for it. Griga gifted 5 memberships. So welcome to our 5 new members. You can thank Griga for that. Hey, Griga, thank you. Yeah, Sidro mentioned something interesting. Maybe they would consider doing Wade Barrett and Drew McIntyre, because they kind of teased it, and Wade has teased maybe getting back in the ring for a match. Can't rule it out. You could do an angle with them. I think we'll see Wade wrestle a match at some point. If there's going to be a match, that's the one that would make sense. Aaron with another 50. Got to see Speedball for the first time live a few weeks ago at a local Buffalo indie. Gonna see him again in a few weeks. I've seen his matches, but was blown away seeing him live. Why hasn't WWE ever looked at him? Maybe they have and I missed it. Well, he was unable to travel to the United States for 5 years. there was an issue. It was some kind of visa issue, and they're very strict with the rules, and I think he was banned. So it really paused his career for 5 years because he couldn't work in the US. So it was only in the last few years that he was able to finally start, traveling here again, and he was just hitting every different promotion that you could think of. So, I mean, it's been long enough that WWE could have given him a look. I don't know that they didn't give him a look, but he's in TNA, and he's been working different indies. We've had him a couple of times in House of Glory. I don't know. I don't know if WWE has given him a look, and maybe he just didn't want to go or what. But I know that he, for the longest time, was simply not able to work. It was because of that visa issue, the ban. But yeah, he's very, very talented. Very talented. Well, he was on the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling show even a few weekends ago, right? He had a great match on that show too. Aaron also says, this isn't a bomb, but just want to say I love you, Solo. I love you too, Aaron. Bombs or no bombs, I appreciate you either way. Eminem with the 12. That tree is going to get burned, but then again, I still have to see Jericho on my TV. Fuck that tree. WWE just announced the WCW pack for 2024, 2K24. We're going to see another gamer video soon. Probably not for 2K24. I rage quit and I never went back. And now I feel like we're close enough to 2K25, so I won't say no 100%, probably not. I'll tell you what I liked about the commercial they aired tonight. They played Lex Luger's theme music, which is like production. It's like stock music. I have it saved somewhere from like years ago. But I heard the song and I was like, oh, they got Luger's old theme music for the commercial. So that was cool. Prince Vegeta celebrating a year of channel membership. Celebrated 1 year last week, and in 2 weeks, celebrating the big 29. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday to you. Happy birthday, Prince Vegeta. 29 years old. I remember what that felt like 29 years ago. Corey Everett, boy, these pretzels are making me thirsty. Those are my favorite. I can't have them. Nothing like crunchy. So no pretzels for 2 weeks. What am I gonna do? What am I supposed to snack on? I need something that's chewy. What is there? I don't know what else there is. What can I eat these next 2 weeks? This is gonna be a misery. Devin from New Jersey, for his 20th anniversary, Solo should read aloud the dictionary and offer his thoughts and commentary on every word and definition. I'll take that under advisement. We'll put that in the suggestion box. Aaron with the 20. Man, Aaron is on a roll here. One more thing before I stop. Been watching you since 2011 on TV Tracks. You're the one podcast or personality in this space I still will always watch and listen to. Thanks for being the GOAT. Well, that's very kind of you. I appreciate that. There's so many different shows in the space, and some people I'm even friendly with, and I know personally. But when I hear from somebody who says you're my link up to wrestling, some people don't even watch. Some people fell out of it and they just, business is booming now, but they just haven't gotten back into it, but they don't want to completely cut it off. So they'll still tune into the shows just to keep up with what's going on through me. Like stuff like that, when I hear that is very cool. So thank you. Justin. See WWE Vault. Great Coquina Yoko debut. So awkward. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. If you are not, other than this channel, the best channel on YouTube, outside of this one, obviously, is the WWE Vault. I have fallen in love with that channel. You never know what they're going to upload. Every day, it's just something random and something different and something that in some cases has never been released before. And then they'll release matches that you can find in other places sometimes, but One of the things that they released last week, and I was so pissed, it was only like 2 minutes long. Like, it's such a short clip, but it was a behind the scenes like blooper from one of the remotes. They call them remotes, like on location, that they were filming probably for Primetime Wrestling with Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. And I'm like, I watched this little clip and I'm like, I want more. Because you know they have this shit all saved up, like probably hours of it in the vault. And I'm like, that's what the vault should be for, stuff like that. So what he's referring to is they uploaded a segment that I don't think it ever aired. I want to say it was from a television taping in the summer of '92, where Mean Gene Okerlund brought out Afa, formerly of the Wild Samoans, and his new monster, Kokina. Kokina was Yokozuna before they came up with the Yokozuna gimmick. So he had long hair. It was so long it was covering his face, you couldn't even see his face. And it was awful. Like, Afa really is the one, I think he ruined the entire segment. It just wasn't good. And I could see why they didn't want to air it on TV. Because originally what they were going to do, and I think they worked a few dark matches together, Kokina was going to be the third head shrinker. It was Samu, Fatu, and Kokina. And before he came to WWE, I think maybe in the AWA, he was Kokina Maximus. So he was going to do the Kokina gimmick as one of the head shrinkers. And whoever it was, I don't know if it was Vince or someone else, came up with the idea for Yokozuna. We'll make him Japanese. From the Polynesian island, or whatever, however they build him. And so we got Yokozuna, and then in 6 months, he was WWE champion. But yeah, it's worth going and watching the segment because it's something that you've never seen before. And you'll see what I'm talking about with Afa. It was just not a good segment. I could see why they were like, yeah, we're not going to air this. But today, by the way, I saw they uploaded a dark match, no commentary, from '95, a cage match in the blue cage between Bret Hart and Hakushi. I haven't watched it yet, but that was today's upload. A lot of good stuff on there. Definitely check that channel out. Alex with the 5. Brother Solo, is there a WWE match you would award more than 5 stars? No, because I think awarding more than 5 stars is stupid. 5 stars is the maximum. If you're going to have a star scale, 5 is the max. When you start going beyond that, 5 1/4, 7, that's fucking stupid. Melik Gaming, any chance we will see any more Sound of Gamer? Probably, yeah. It may not be until 2K25. I still have 2K24 installed. Every time there's an update in Steam, I keep it updated. So, I mean, never say never as far as 2K24. If I have a free day, I want to play around with it. But we probably are looking for 2K25 at this point, since we're a lot closer to that. Clone Force 99. Celebrating 6 months of channel membership. Rock returns to WarGames, turns on Roman. And new Bloodline beats the shit out of OG Bloodline. And show ends with OG beatdown and Rock revealed as the mastermind. I could see it, a Rock appearance. Do I see Rock wrestling? No. That's why I said before, 4-on-4 is fine. But yeah, you can't rule out a Rock appearance. I'm not going to predict that. I'm not going to predict that Rock will actually be on the show, but could I see it? I could see it, yes. I mean, that's one of the things I floated early on, when we first started seeing the formation of this new Bloodline faction. I said it months ago. I said, what if Rock is the one pulling the strings? What if he's the puppeteer behind the scenes? Unhappy with Roman because Roman disgraced the family and lost the championship. Because remember, Rock won on the first night of WrestleMania. He got the job done. He beat Cody. And then Roman went in there and lost. So for Rock to be the one who was kind of orchestrating this entire insurrection, I guess you would say, of the Bloodline, it's not that far-fetched. And if they wanted to get to Rock against Roman, I have no idea if Rock could even do that match, next year, or if they would do something else with Rock. That would be one way to get there. Jeremy says, just because the OG stood tall at the end of the show doesn't mean there aren't unresolved issues before WarGames. I think Heyman will need to get everybody on the same page. I hope so. Because I still feel like that's the best role for him, but I just feel like you don't get that moment. The moment was them standing united, and they've already done that. But yeah, I mean, he could still be brought in to help smooth over some lingering issues. Yuri with the 10. Across wrestling history, who would you say is your favorite secondary title holder who made their title look like the title, more so than the actual world champion? Mine is probably RVD with the ECW television title. Yeah, and he never lost it either, right? He only forfeited it because of the broken ankle. That was a pretty legendary run that he had there. Favorite secondary champion? You could probably say that about John Cena and the U.S. title in 2015. He worked with a lot of people he ordinarily would not have worked with. In some cases anyway, maybe not all. Tried to elevate them. Even if he beat them, just, working a competitive match with John Cena on TV is not a bad spot for somebody to be in. If they're being squashed, that's a different story. And who was the champion at the time then? When in 2015 would have been Rollins, right? Yeah. I think Cena would be on the list with the US title. I mean, I thought that question was going in a different direction. You asked me my favorite secondary champions. I just think of some of those classic intercontinental champions from the early to mid 90s, and I think of Mr. Perfect. I think of Razor Ramon. But I can't say that they upstage the world champion. I don't think that would be accurate. But those are some of my favorite secondary champions. Would be Perfect, and even Brett when he had the IC, and Razor. I'm trying to think from like the 2000s. No, I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna stick with those IC champions from the early to mid 90s. I think those are my favorites. Sidro, how do you turn a soup into gold? Add 24 carats. Boy, you're just full of them, aren't you? How does a mouse feel after a bath? Squeaky clean.
You suck.
You knew that was coming. You had to know that was coming. Joseph Brooks, if Angle and Lesnar had the best rookie years in wrestling, would you agree that Bryan Danielson and Sting had the best final years in wrestling? Sting, Flair didn't ruin it. In 2008, Flair would have had the best send-off anybody's ever had, probably in history. And then he went and fucked it up. So I don't even look back on that anymore as fondly as I used to. Plus, Flair is who he is. Sting had a great send-off last year. And Danielson, I mean, you just think of all the great matches he had over the past year. Okada, Sabre, Ospreay, Swerve. And I know there were some TV matches I'm missing also, but those are the ones that stand out. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue that he had one of the better but again, we say final years, you assume he's going to be back at some point and he'll wrestle from time to time. I mean, I don't know what the state of his neck is and how serious that whole injury situation is. But yeah, no, this year has been a very, in ring, has been a tremendous year for him. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement to make. We got the Mount Vernon kid, Christopher Bennett, 30 months as a channel member, says, "Hey Solo, I can't believe they did Sheamus against Breaker on WWE Speed." Yeah, I saw that. So there's a WrestleMania match, okay, for the Intercontinental title that I would like to see next year. And I noticed that they put them in a speed match. Yeah, see that girl right there? That was my reaction. They put them in a speed match, which is the Twitter stuff that has a 3-minute time limit. And they wrestled on fucking speed. So of course it went to a time limit draw. Nobody won. I'm like, you're doing this match on speed. With any luck, they will run that back for WrestleMania, unless the idea is that Goldberg is going to get his retirement match at WrestleMania. In which case, Braun Breaker, I think, should be the one to retire him and send him off to the old age home. David Thiering, 6 months of membership. Time to put Sidro on the spot. Please pick a comedian, dead or alive, that you know that Sidro best compares to. Best compares to? I can't insult my favorite comedians that way. I thought you were going to ask me for my favorite comedians. I was going to say George Carlin at the top of the list. Ain't no one better than George Carlin. Sam Kinison was pretty damn good too. It's too bad what happened to him. Sidro, speaking of which. What are two spiders who just got married? Newlywebs. Boy, you have just jumped the shark tonight with these. Cameron Spencer, I'm a hardcore Sanity fan. I don't like the Wyatt Six. Bringing back Sanity can pull Nikki Cross from that group. Are you down for that? Well, I don't like Sanity, so no, I'm not down for that. I never cared for Sanity as a group when they were in NXT. I didn't care about them when they called them up to the main roster. I do think that they got jobbed out. They got the raw end of the deal because they never even had a chance on the main roster. So they should have at least been given an opportunity, but I never cared for the group. I'm fine to never see them again. Corey Everett. But you need the part in the Woody Allen movie. What part might that be? I don't think I want to be working with Woody Allen. And Yuri says Kevin Nash against the Great Khali against Omos in a Punjabi prison triple threat. Be the book. Yeah, that'll pretty well kill the territory. I think if that's what you're trying to do. Ain't nobody gonna buy a ticket to one of my shows again after that. Let's see where we are on the goal. All right, we're well past the goal. 469. We have a shot at 500 before we get out of here. We're at 470 likes. So thank you for that. That means we're going to get... Well, you know, I shouldn't say this because I thought we were doing Be the Booker on Monday, and we all saw what happened there. If you missed it, you can go back and check it out. We landed on a poison pill. Let's hope that doesn't happen again. So let's give it a shot, shall we? Let's take her for a spin. It's time to Be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen,
oh, Dawn Marie, look at this.
The Booker.
Look at Dawn Marie from NXT on Wednesday night, letting her intrusive thoughts take over here. I don't blame you, Dawn. I don't blame you. As we usually do here in Be the Booker, we begin with Tag Team Be the Booker. Because that's what we do here. Oh, man. You guys are too much. Speaking of ECW, look at this. We're starting out with the Public Enemy. There's Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge. Public Enemy against who? Public Enemy against Private Party. A lot of P's. Private Party and Public Enemy. You know what this should be? This should be a tables match. That's what this should be. And in fact, let's pick a stipulation. I hope we land on table match. Now I hope we land on table match. It will be Private Party against Public Enemy in an exploding barbed wire death match. Well, that works too, I suppose. Unless it's in AEW, then it doesn't work. Then you get some sparklers. Then it doesn't work out too well. Either way, I give that match the bell. I think that would be a quality match, I think. And now we move on to women's Be the Booker. A public-private party. You know, I didn't even put two and two together. I guess it would be a public-private party, yes. All right. Oh, it's Riho. It's Riho. Here she is. Wave at Riho, everybody. Out with a broken wrist. Her arm looks broken. Doesn't her arm look broken in that photo? Look at the way her arm is bent. It doesn't even look like her arm. She looks like she has like a fake arm, like Doink did when he hit Crush with that, with his fake arm. Oh my God. Maybe she's double jointed. I don't know why I just noticed that. All right, well, anyway, it's Riho and her broken arm. She's been medically cleared, so she's wrestling. Get your ass out there. Riho against Stephanie McMahon. And after we had such a good start, too, with that tag team round. Tiebreaker time. Love me a good tiebreaker. Here we go. Main event time. We begin with Rey Mysterio, the former world heavyweight champion. You see big gold in his hand there. He didn't have a very eventful title run, I could tell you that. I could tell that's the night he won it because it says Kurt Angle on the belt. So we know when this was taken. And look at this. What a family man he is. Look at this guy. On his right bicep, or right under his right bicep, it says Aaliyah, his daughter's name. And on his left bicep, it says Dominic. And he called him a deadbeat dad. Look at this guy. He's got his kids' names tattooed on his arm. And by the way, that part of the arm probably hurts like a bitch, too, to get a tattoo, I would imagine. Probably a lot of nerve endings there. Anyway. See, Rey Mysterio's no deadbeat dad. Rey Mysterio's he's a great dad. I wouldn't even do that for my kids. What do I need to tattoo their names on my body for? I already know their name. All right. Rey Mysterio. For the World Heavyweight Championship. Defending his title against Cactus Jack. There you go. Rey Mysterio and Cactus Jack. Let's pick a stip because I'm feeling frisky here. I'm in a good mood. All your support tonight has put me in, despite the pain that I'm in right now. You have no idea. I'm not supposed to be talking. I've been talking for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Let's pick a stipulation for this friggin' match. Rey Mysterio and Cactus Jack in a Molotov cocktail match. I like me a good Molotov cocktail match. And yes, that's look at this. A real mode here. That's the AEW Fight Forever game. Boy, did that game die a fucking death. Molotov cocktail match. Poor Rey. Poor Rey Mysterio. Look at Richie
That's
Rich
not gonna
over
end well
here
for him.
dropping all
What
this
is-
money on
Oh.
me. Hey, I just want you to know,
Oh, wow.
I think you rock. I don't mean the rock, a rock, you rock. And I just wanted you to know that.
M. Mills. Waiting until the very end here. Coming in with a $100 super chat bomb. Bombs away. No message, just showing some love as she always does here on the streams. M. Mills, thank you very, very much. I promise you I'd have a smile on my face if I could actually fully smile right now, but I'm not supposed to. I might rip some stuff out, so we have to try not. It's such a weird feeling, too. I've never had that before. Having all that, the sutures and everything. Ugh, I don't do well with that stuff. Anyway, that makes me feel very good. So thank you, M. Mills. And everybody. Aaron and Osakwe and Sidro and David, of course. Everybody. Thank you all, man. We had a huge night here. Knocked it out of the park. For a pretty good SmackDown as well, right? Always helps to have a good, enjoyable episode of SmackDown. We have had some good ones and some not so good ones this year. So it was good to have a entertaining episode tonight. Now we move on to Raw this coming Monday. That is the next time that I will be live with you here on the channel. And I think we have a normal schedule next week. So Monday live for Raw. Tuesday night, TNT back with JD on his channel. We missed this week. We're back next week. Wednesday night for Dynamite. And then Friday night for SmackDown next week. Of course, before all of that, you have episode 887 of the show coming up on Sunday. The flagship Sound Off podcast. And I think that about covers it. So thank you for hanging out with me on your Friday night. I will bid you adieu. Be well. Stay safe. Have yourselves a great weekend. And come on back here next week. We'll have fun. We'll have a party like we do every week. And we'll see you on Sunday. Sometime in the afternoon. It should be up. As long as I can speak. Episode 887 of the Solomonster Sounds Off. Until then, take care, guys.